You got it.
All right, everybody. Welcome, Parshat Tetzaveh, a very special parsha, by the way. It's not gonna be the subject of tonight's class, but and this parsha usually coincides with the yard site of Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is the only parsha in the Torah from the book of Shemais, the beginning of the book of Shemais, the beginning of the book of Exodus, all the way through the end. It does not have Moshe's name. Every single portion has it. This parsha doesn't have it, not even once. And there's a whole reason for that. Maybe we'll talk about it on Shabbos some more. But today we're going to speak about Jews. Jews. I mean, this is a Jewish educational course, right? It says the Jewish Learning Institute, and it says a Chabad house. So, I mean, if you came in and started telling you about Hindu, it'd be a little bit interesting, right?
Yeah, I'd have to go outside and look at the name.
So everybody knows that in Judaism we put a stress on the community, right? Everybody's welcome, right? I mean, we welcome everyone, or we should welcome everyone, except for that guy. He's no good.
Yeah.
Right?
That's Mendrick over there.
If you feel offended, then you're the guy.
You're the guy.
But what happens if a guy doesn't want to be welcomed in the community? Maybe he feels intimidated, right? Or maybe he says, I'm not up to par with the community. Community knows too much.
Minyan, Thursday morning,
Right.
6:45.
Yeah, I can't read them. The standards. Yeah. The standards.
I'm going to put a filter in mine.
Yeah, the standards are too high. I don't. For whatever reason, he says, "No, I'm not part of the community. The community is not for me."
Amen.
Another coffee. So today we're going to learn.
Same coffee.
Today we're going to learn is what does the Torah have to say about Jews who don't feel they necessarily belong in the community. So we'll tell them, listen, if you don't pay membership, we're going to kick you out anyway. Okay, that's that. So in this week's Torah portion, we have the clothing of the Kohanim. We have the initiation service. We also have one of the items. Most of the items are in last week's Torah portion. We have the small altar in this week's Torah portion. There were two altars. The outdoor one, which had the sacrifices, and then the indoor one, which had the incense. And then in 2 weeks, in our Parsha, we have the wash basin, the kior, and we also have the recipe for the incense. But pretty much everything is in the last Parsha. But the highlight of this week's Parsha is the clothing of the Kohanim. Now, there was a regular Kohen and a Kohen Gadol. The difference between a regular Kohen and a Kohen Gadol was that the regular Kohen wore 4 items of clothing. The Kohen Gadol wore 8. The 4 items of clothing that a regular Kohen wore, you could see on the screen. And the regular Kohen wore everything was linen. The regular Kohen wore like 3/4 length pants. Over there the pants go all the way down to the the legs, but I think it was to the knees. He wore a tunic, well, kind of like a robe, a long undershirt went all the way down to his ankles. He had a linen belt and a linen turban. That was the regular Kohen. A Kohen Gadol, in addition to these 4, he had 4 other ones, and these other 4 had gold and blue wool and purple wool and different things mixed in. So if you see on the screen, on the left, you have a blue tunic, and that was made entirely out of a wool called tcheles or tchelet. Tcheles is wool that was dyed with a sea creature called chilazon. You might see some people today that have the blue string. That's tcheles. So the entire, now what color is it? Light blue, dark blue, greenish blue? There's a whole argument. The whole argument exactly what the color is. A whole argument of what the sea creature is. People today say they know. It's not. I'm not authority in this area. So I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on the internet that say yes, they found the right stuff.
Right. I'm saying, but
So
it's got to be true. It's on the internet.
no. Forget about there's some rabbis and people that have researched, and they're confident that that they've done it.
There's somebody in your office.
Yeah, I know. They're actually learning in my office. But then there's some people that say, listen, because we don't know, we're not going to do it until Mashiach comes. So until then, it's better to be safe than sorry. Which, by the way, is the way that it is a mitzvah. It's better not to do it than to do it wrong. So then at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, it's kind of small. On the bottom of the me'il means tunic. Of the blue tunic, there were golden bells and pomegranates. And that made noise. Now, then you had the ephod. The ephod is, I guess they have it over there, reddish. It's on the screen, you can see it here. The ephod was a mixture of different wools, purple wool, blue wool, red wool, gold thread. They actually knocked gold, made it very thin. It was a backwards apron. Instead of the apron wearing around the front, it wore on the back, and then and the shoulders came over here. And that's where it tied to the choshen. Choshen was the breastplate with the 12 stones, engraved in the 12 stones with the names of the tribe. Now you can't see it well in the picture here, but I don't know if can you guys see that little blue outline there on the screen right there?
Yeah.
Those stones were called Avnei Shoam. I think they say they're onyx, AON.
YX.
Or I think right. I think they say.
Onyx comes in a lot of colors.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen them depicted as black. I see them depicted as blue. In fact, I have the two books floating around here. You could check it out. So the ephod was the apron. The choshen was the breastplate, and then is I'm trying to see if it's depicted here. Then was the tzitz, like tzitzit, but without the yud tav. Tzitz was the golden headband. Headband of war. So if you notice, the Kohen Gadol wore tefillin, so his turban was kind of set back like so. He didn't wear his turban like over here. He wore his turban set back over here. His tefillin, and then he had his golden headband. On the headband it said, "Holy unto God, Kadosh Lashem." This is what the Kohen and the Kohen Gadol. It was very easy to distinguish between the Kohen and the Kohen Gadol. Maybe it's a good time to retell the story of Alexander the Great. If you remember the story with Alexander the Great and Shimon HaTzadik, remember that story?
Sounds familiar.
No.
I always say I love you guys. You guys never remember it, and the people on the internet can't interrupt me. So even if they remember it, so if you remember the story, don't tune me out because there's a lot more coming. So in the time of Alexander the Great, it was a time which is middle of the Second Temple. This is pre-Hanukkah, way before Hanukkah, not way before, but before Hanukkah. There was a lot of turmoil in Israel and the Jewish community. There's a whole fight between who was the voice of the Jewish community. Was it we'll call it the traditional Jews or the Samaritans? Samaritans were a group of people that were put there in northern Israel. Northern Israel means anywhere north of Jerusalem, by Sancherib. Sancherib exiled the 10 tribes, brought in a different group of people, the Samaritans, to settle the northern part of Israel. And the Gemara tells us that they had problems. They were being attacked by animals, and they had all these issues. So they went to the rabbis and said, they figured out that's not natural. So the rabbi said, well, you don't belong here. Land of Israel is for the Jews. Sorry. If you're watching this and you get offended, turn me off. Land of Israel was given to the Jews for the Jews. No one else is supposed to live there. So what do we got to do? So you got to become Jewish. So they converted. The problem is the whole debate erupted in the Jewish community is, did they convert because they wanted to convert? Did they converted because they were afraid of animals, attacking them? When you have a lion roaming around your front yard, it says be Jewish. It's a little convincing, right? So they were like and then you had the destruction of the first temple, Nebuchadnezzar, and the Jewish people were largely exiled. There was there was a community, but these guys were like a big voice in Israel. You had the 70 years of exile, right? You have the story of Purim in between, which we're going to have in a month. Comes Ezra after the story of Purim, right? Ezra and Nehemiah, but the leader of the Jewish people was Ezra. Comes Ezra, leads the Jewish people back to Israel in different shifts, and he comes and he tells these guys, party's over. You guys are not Jewish. Get out. Now, you can imagine if you're living in Israel for 200 years and you think you're Jewish, and some rabbi comes and says, listen here, you're not Jewish. You're not going to take that pill very well. They didn't like it. But since Ezra was such a powerful person, not power like power, he was such a great personality. I mean, when he came to Israel, there was intermarriage, and all the shops were open on Shabbos. It was a mess. Within 10 years, he turned it around. Now, 10 years is not a long time to turn around a community from being intermarried, not keeping Shabbos, to being, halachic abiding citizens was a tremendous feat. The Gemara speaks in very, very high regard for Ezra. In fact, it says a line, if the Torah hadn't been given through Moshe, it would have been given through Ezra. That's how great Ezra was. He was also a Kohen, he was also a Sofer. Anyway, so the Samaritans realized there was a losing war. I know we're way off the subject over here. It's getting late. So they started making the Jewish community problems. And finally, they went to the Greeks and said that the people that came into Israel and they really want to build, and they built the temple and they want a commonwealth, which wasn't wrong, by the way. The Jewish people did want their own king because a lot of laws in the Torah apply with a king, right? Hakel and Yovel. So it wasn't a lie, but the idea that the Jewish people wanted to revolt and totally threw off the Greek rule, that wasn't true. Anyway, so Alexander the Great marched on Jerusalem, and he was getting ready to destroy the central, Jewish community. And Shimon HaTzadik, is Shimon the Holy, he was the last of the Anshe Knesset Agdola. When Ezra came and reestablished a Jewish community, he made the first Knesset, 120 rabbis. But unlike now with his elections, every 5 months, it was 120 members. There was no replacement. When one died, it was 119. Attrition. And Shimon HaTzadik was the youngest, or he lived the longest. He was the last one, and he was also the Kohen Gadol. And when Alexander came, he walked out of the temple wearing his priestly garb, which, if you look at the pictures, it's quite an image, all the gold. And he had an image about him. Certain people, you don't know they're holy. Certain people, you look at them and you don't have to know what they know. You just know they're special. Mm-hmm. When Alexander saw Shimon HaTzadik in his full priestly garb, he got off his horse, which is everybody knows, tall horse, and he bowed down to Shimon HaTzadik. So the Samaritans were beside themselves. Here we did the whole conspiracy in order that Alexander should destroy the temple, destroy everything. But he's the leader of the people that we're telling you about. He's the leader of the rebellion. Alexander said, if he's the leader, then they're fine. What do you mean? He said, every time when I go into battle, the night before, sometimes I have a dream and I have a visage of an elderly man. Whenever I have that dream, I know I'm going to be victorious. And that's the guy I see. So because of that, Alexander became a Jewish name. And they did a few things to show thanks to the Greeks. How did the Greeks repay us? We had the story of Hanukkah. That's a whole right.
Different story.
That's a Greek to me.
Yeah, it's Greek to me. All right. So the law was that the Kohanim had to wear the garb in their whenever they performed the service. There was no casual Friday in the office. In fact, it's not like, okay, what happened? Well, what happens if? Well, the temple is God's house. You don't show up to work in God's house appropriately, God kicks you out of his house, which basically means, it's called Misa B'dei Shemaim. God kills you. God takes care of you. So, by the way, being a Kohen has a lot of perks, but also had setbacks. I mean, you couldn't misbehave.
Ever.
You know, So
I wouldn't have made it.
so the Gemara the Mishnah says, talking about what happens if a Kohen did something wrong to prove, to undermine rabbinical law. So what do we do to him? So the Mishnah says we don't have to do anything to him. The other Kohanim, when they also in-house policed themselves, right? If a Levite would fall asleep on duty, the law was and the guy would walk around with torches, right, to make sure everything was. He falls asleep on duty. They said you have full right to set him on fire. Not that they did set him on fire, but they kind of in-house policed themselves. Yes, they did have. You get the first Aliyah and you get Teruma and Bikurim and all but it didn't come without any occupational hazards. Let's call it that, right? So if a Kohen, not only would the Kohen be liable personally for the himself if he performed a temple service, like performing a temple service, for example, like sprinkling the blood of the animal on the altar, bringing the incense, lighting the menorah. So he got misa b'dei shemayim, God would kill him. Also, the whole service was invalid. You had to redo the service again. So that's what you see in text number 2. As you see over here, text number 2, they shall be warned when they approach the altar to do the service. Okay. Now the question is, were they allowed to be inside the temple and not wear their priestly garb? Let's say they're just there to observe. Because I don't know if you know this, but a Kohen didn't just work in the temple whenever he wanted. There were shifts. There was a 24 family shift. Each family usually got around two shifts a year. Right? Because you can't have all the thousands and thousands of Kohanim being. There were shifts. Let's say you wanted to come to the temple. Let's say you're
How long's a shift?
a week.
Okay. What about
They adjusted it. They adjusted it on the size of the family also.
But that's just the regular Kohanim. That's not.
What do you mean?
That's not the big boss.
Yeah.
No. The Kohen Gadol was there every day. No. We're talking about the Kohanim.
Did he get a vacation? Was it 2 weeks a year?
No. He didn't get any vacation. No vacation for the Kohen. He did got health insurance. He got a great apartment in Jerusalem, I'll tell you. So
We did do that for a couple of weeks.
But let's say, for example, a Kohen wanted to bring, his wife had a baby, right? And he wanted to bring a korban toda, a Thanksgiving offering. Let's say he survived a trip, so it's not like he couldn't come to the temple. Let's say a Kohen came to the temple when he wasn't on duty. Could he come in jeans and a t-shirt, or did he have to wear the whole?
You have to wear the whole garb.
Well, it seems wrong to come in jeans and t-shirt.
You come to shul in jeans and a t-shirt.
This
You're
isn't
not a
the
Kohen.
temple.
It is it.
Oh, I'm not a Kohen.
Yeah, you're not a Kohen, right? So, by the way, there was a guy in the shul, right, who used to come to shul on Shabbos in jeans and a tank top. One time, a guy pulled out his phone on shul on Shabbos, and to him, it was in front. He comes to Rabbi. Do you see the chutzpah? You see what this guy does in shul? He uses his phone on Shabbos, and he's wearing, and I'm like, because you decided, you decided that you don't like this one. Anyway, so Maimonides actually says, yeah. So Maimonides actually says, in text number 3, Maimonides says that a Kohen is allowed to be in the temple and not wear the priestly garb. Because if you look at text 2a carefully, the verse only says to do the service, he has to be in priestly garb. But if he's just there, pick up his check, then he can be in the temple, right? That's clear. Now, the Kohen Gadol. If you look very carefully, and where is the? Where's the verse?
Esther? You can see it here.
No.
You can see it here.
But all that they're also there. The Kohen Gadol, it says he had to wear his 8 garments in the temple always, and it says in the verse like,
Only one Kohen Gadol,
yeah.
so that there was nobody else there.
No, I don't mean someone had to be wearing it in the temple at all times. Any time the Kohen Gadol was in the temple, he had to wear it. I mean, he went home to sleep. You weren't allowed to sleep in the when he went to the bathroom. He had to take off. He had to take,
8 layers.
You know, by the way, going to the bathroom was a big problem. Not a big problem, it was a big issue. Because, and this is making it queasy. But they ate a lot of meat. All the time. And they didn't have a lot of fiber, didn't have a lot of carbs. So it says sometimes their bowels were very loose because of ingesting so much protein. It talks about the Mishnah and the Gemara, halacha, what does the Kohen do? You know, you're weak. And by the way, when you're a Kohen, aside from the spiritual part of it, you wanted to be working in the Beis Hamikdash. How did your family eat? Family ate when someone said, "Oh, I harvested my field, and here's some fruit." Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, here's a sacrifice, and the sacrifice, part of it goes on the altar, and part of it goes to the Kohen. So it wasn't just about the spiritual service; it was about putting bread on the table. You had to show up to work. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why, by the way, the Torah doesn't warn us by the festivals to remember the Kohen, because the Kohen's always going to get his, because he's in the temple. And, you know, people are always bringing stuff. People always bring sacrifices. Torah reminds us always to remember the Levi. Because the Levi got 10%, and he didn't get sacrifices, he got 10% of the produce. And what if he had a bad year? So it says, always remember the Levi. A Levi, and also by proxy, any other poor person. So putting, if you remember, we never learned this. One day maybe it will be nice to do a class in the books of the prophets, in the books of Samuel and Judges. It's very interesting. But in the book of Samuel, there are 2 Kohanim that abused their privilege. I don't want to get into it. It's already almost 8:00. But basically, they make a mockery of the system because it's supposed to be first on the altar. So the prophet puts a curse on the family. Because it was the Kohen Gadol's 2 sons, saying that your families, you're going to die out. And your family's going to be very, very small. And because you're going to be very small, you won't have time to serve in the temple. Because you won't have time to serve in the temple, you're not going to have food to eat. Because that's your source of income. Anyway, so to get back on track. So you see the Maimonides writes in text number 3b, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah for the Kohen Gadol to wear these garments. As the sages said, Aaron did all the commandments that Moses told him. It means he wore the priestly garments, even though the garments are the pinnacle of beauty, made of gold and precious stones. The Kohen Gadol must wear them with intention must not wear them with intention of wearing beautiful garments. Rather, he must wear them. Here it is. Namely, to always wear the garments in the temple. So you see, Maimonides wears it, and he bases it on the verse that Aaron shall be heard when he goes in the temple. Nothing to do with being in the service. Aaron, the first high priest, shall be heard. So Maimonides learns from there that the you see over here that the Rogachover Gaon, the genius, the Gaon from Rogachover, in his book writes, he says, if you look at the nuance in the language of Maimonides, he says the Rambam's language, text 4, it applies there's a difference between the regular Kohen and the high priest. A regular Kohen only wore the garments while performing. The high priest, just wearing them, is the mitzvah itself. There's no mitzvah for a regular Kohen to wear the garments. Only when he shows up to work, he has to wear the garments. The Kohen Gadol, anytime he walked into the temple, he had to be. And it's here goes text 5. There you go. I knew I saw it. It was text from somewhere. And he bases it on the verse: the cloak shall be on Aaron when he performs the service, and he shall be heard when he enters the tabernacle, when he leaves. So he will not die. Rashi says, text 5b. Rashi says, what if one dies? If he's wearing it, he will live. If not, he won't live. Right? So that now the obvious question comes. No, what's the question? Interesting. The Kohen goes carrying a shofar there. What's the question, you guys? Why? Why the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference between a Kohen and a Kohen Gadol? Why the Kohen Gadol he has to always wear it and the Kohen not?
One's always working. The other ones aren't always working.
Well, by the way, a regular Kohen not work harder than the Kohen Gadol, by the way.
I didn't say he worked harder, but he doesn't work all the time.
That's
Who?
a better question. The Kohen Gadol. How did he get?
Good question. So the Kohen Gadol job was passed down father to son. If the son was worthy. Now the problem is if you're not worthy, many people don't like to admit they're not worthy. In your head, you think you're worthy. So there was a problem in the Second Temple. People thought they were worthy. They actually, the Romans or the Greeks, I think it was Romans, would auction off the honor. Because being a Kohen Gadol means you control the temple, which was the center of Judaism, which means you can levy taxes, and you're a big shot. The problem is if you're not worthy and you walk into the Holy of Holies, God shows you you're not worthy. So sometimes the power goes.
It's short-term job.
Short-term job, yeah. So in the first temple, in the first temple, the Gemara says it was 410 years, and I can't remember how many Kohen Gadol there were. There weren't a lot, in between 10 and 20, because a rabbi is a rabbi for 30, 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Dies. Next one. In the second temple, there was like 100.
There wasn't a retirement. It was Kohen Gadol for life.
Yes, like the
Right?
Supreme
So
Court.
he couldn't just say, I'm not feeling well now. I just don't have it in me. It's time to pass.
That's a good question. Could a Kohen Gadol retire? And there was a Sgan Kohen Gadol. There was a lieutenant Kohen. That means in case something happened, he would, a vice Kohen Gadol.
In case there was an illness or something like that.
Yeah. Could he abdicate the throne? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I'm sure you can. Why not? Why not?
Pope that did it recently.
You remind me of the joke. This is where I thought you were going when you started your question. These two kids were speaking, a Christian kid and the rabbi, and a Jewish kid. And the Christian kid is talking to her. I said, "What are you in public school?" He said, "No, I'm in yeshiva." I said, "Yeshiva, what's that?" It's rabbinical school. What do? You study to become a rabbi. What happens when you graduate? Nothing. You keep studying. Just you're a rabbi your entire life. You can't get your congregation gets bigger, but you're a rabbi. That's it. So what about you? A Jewish kid asks a Christian kid. He says, "Are you in public school?" He says, "No, I'm in Christian school, whatever academy, whatever they call it." Says, and then what? What happens when you graduate? Oh, after that, if you're interested in pursuing your career, you go to, what do they call the place where they live? A seminary, and you become a priest. And he says, and that's it. He says, well, if you do a lot of good work and you blah blah blah, you become a cardinal, bishop. I think bishop's next. I'm trying to think of the chessboard. Cardinal. It goes castle, knight,
No. Rook.
Castle,
rook,
Obispo,
bishop. Yeah,
and then Pope.
Rook.
rook is a knight.
No, you're a priest.
Yeah.
You can become
Yeah. Anyway.
bishop and
Anyway,
archbishop.
so he says bishop, and that's it. He says, well, if you're really, he goes on archbishop, and just so that's it. Well, the kid's getting all like, well, if you're really respected, you do a lot of good work. They change your blue yarmulke for a red yarmulke, you become a cardinal. And I said, well, if you're really, you become the Pope. And the Jewish kid, is that it? At the end of the line, the Christian kid says, oh, what do you want from me? To become JC? He said, why not? One of us did it. Right? Anyway, so...
Yeah, but the kid said it'll never happen to me because of my name. He said, what's your name? Well, I'm Luigi Saccola. Can you imagine a Pope Saccola?
By the way, a Jewish kid almost became the Pope.
Ratzenberg?
Yeah, from Paris, from France.
From France?
Yeah, he was I think a child of a Holocaust. It's one of the stories about the Holocaust. They hid him in a convent, and yeah, and he knew he was Jewish. The family tracked him down, told him he was Jewish, and he said, "Nah." And he was in line. Yeah. Sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, so they are different between Kohen Gadol and regular Kohanim. They are different activity, responsibility. This is the reason that the government, the uniform or
No, so the only thing the Kohen Gadol has different than everyone else is Yom Kippur. The Yom Kippur service is done by the Kohen Gadol and only the Kohen Gadol. The rest of the year, the Kohen Gadol can choose to do whatever he wants. If he wants to light the menorah, that's the menorah. If he wants to bring the incense, he brings the incense. He wants to let someone else do it, he can let someone else do it. Up to him. If he walks in and says, I want to do that sacrifice, he does the sacrifice. He's the boss. Now, Kohen Gadol can't do everything. The Kohen Gadol can't do everything the entire year. I mean, you got to think of, especially the second temple, where people are coming, people are having babies, people survived sickness or crossing, people sinned, right? Or some people just wanted to come and connect to God. In those days, you came to connect to God. You brought a sacrifice. You came to the temple to pray. The temple was a place to get inspired. So the temple was a happening place from dawn till dusk. The temple was always active. In the summer, it calmed down. Summer, people went to the Catskills. The summer is quiet.
So
Yeah,
only,
not so much anymore.
only
Yeah, but-
they retake that professional activity when enter again to Jerusalem after Babylon, right?
I didn't understand.
Yeah, when enter Babylon and destroyed the first temple.
Yeah.
No more Kohanim, no.
Well, there were Kohanim. There was no more. There were no more temple.
Exactly. So in that period until the second temple, no more sacrifice between that.
Okay, that's a very good question. And we're getting off the subject because we really have to get to the crux of the next. We'll do this and we'll move on. The only thing in the temple that you have to know the exact spot is the altar. I mean, if the menorah is off, no problem. If the ark is off, no problem. Based on a verse, and I don't know which prophet says, the only thing that has to be exact spot is the altar. It's better to do it. It's better not to do it than to do it wrong. Like I said, I don't know if you were here when I said that. That's why we can't bring the Passover sacrifice. You don't need, by the way, the whole temple to bring the Passover sacrifice. You don't even need any temple to bring a sacrifice. You just need the altar. In fact, in the beginning, when they came back after the story of Purim, they didn't have a temple yet. The temple was in ruins, and they didn't even know what to do. So I think it was the prophet Micha. I think, could be wrong. I think so. He was the one that prophesied. God told him, "Here's the spot." In fact, they in the book over there, I have over there, they depicted in the picture where you see the temple is in ruins, and just the altar is there. So that's why we can't bring the sacrifice today, because we don't know where the altar is. And if you don't know exactly and a lot of things have to do with the temple, if you do it wrong, you see, like it's punishable by death from heaven. So you don't want to do it wrong, even if your intentions are pure. Mm-hmm. Like who once said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with I'll give a material term. When you're dealing with a combustible, fragile material, your intentions could be very good, but if you're not careful, you can cause an accident.
Yeah.
So the closer you get to godliness, the more careful you got to be. That's all. You know what I'm saying? So you mess up in Pembroke Pines, you mess up on the Temple Mount, you got problems. Yeah. So that's why we can't have. That's why we can't.
We didn't make sacrifice between
Right.
Babylon and
Right.
destroy that.
Because we didn't know and that's why we can't do it now. So let's say, for example, so the people that advocate that to take back the Temple Mount from the Israelis, handed it over to the Jordanians, right? The keys. So let's say Israel didn't, or let's say Israel will take it back. Let's say, and do what? What are you going to do? You can't do anything there. Even if, let's say, you destroy the mosque, let's say, for what reason? You can't do anything there. You can't build a temple. Where are you going to put what? There's a whole argument. The whole argument where the temple was. Is it where the Dome of the Rock is? There's an argument.
That's what they say.
But there are varying opinions. There's some people. The Maimonides actually says that's not where it is. Maimonides says it's actually right opposite where the Western Wall is. Because if you're standing by the Western Wall, the Dome of the Rock is not here. It's there. Maimonides says that's not where the rock. That's not where the temple was. And when I say the temple, I mean the main building. The main building is right opposite where the There's an argument. You have to realize the second temple was remodeled 3 or 4 times. So, we don't know.
Was it a union contract then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. First guy never finished the job. I'm saying so. It's it's nice to have the Temple Mount. Yeah, it's nice. It's interesting that the Muslims, the Arabs, the Palestinians they want to take back the Temple Mount and do what? And do what? What are you going to do with it?
So we can control. In imagine. If
No, the Rebbe said it was a mistake to give them control. The Rebbe said we should still control it. It's ours. Giving control away was a mistake. But even if we had control, it wouldn't change anything. We still can't go. So now there are tours that go up on the Temple Mount. Those tours are not so 100% clear cut. It's controversial. There are some halachic authorities say, hey, you got to be careful. Again, because if you're impure, and everybody today is, until we have the red heifer, right, that whole ceremony, you're not allowed to go up on the Temple Mount. You know what the punishment for going up on the Temple Mount is? You guessed it. I remember when I was a counselor as a counselor in camp, the head lifeguard, because the first day of camp, New York kids don't know how to swim, so that's the whole first day of swimming.
New York City kids don't
Yeah.
know how to swim. Let's clarify.
So the first day is a whole. Basically, it's all.
City they're coming.
It's all about water safety, right? So he says, no running. You want to know why? You run by the pool, you smash your head, you're dead. I don't want to ship your body back to your mother in the body bag. No diving in the shallow. You want to know? And the kids are like, want to know why? Because you jump in the shallow, you break your head, you're dead. And I was like, yeah, the kids, and he said, no, don't pee in the pool. It's impossible not to pee in the pool. The kids would, you scared the kids half to death. So you do something wrong in the Temple Mount, you break your head, you're dead. I was like, so that's why.
Yeah, because I was thinking that we have to make all the preparation to say welcome to the Mashiach.
Yeah, but all that is good. Yeah, it's true. But you got to know what you're doing. So let me tell you another anecdote. I know we're way off here. I'm about to go at 8:15. When the previous Rebbe went to Israel, a lot of people put the notes inside the wall. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Are you allowed to do that? Tom,
No.
Don't say no. Don't say no. When you say no, you're saying that thousands and thousands of Jews have sinned. Don't say no. Be very, very careful the way we speak. It's a debate. It's a debate. Where does the holiness of the temple start? On the inner part of the wall, or from the wall?
Always.
Yes.
So the question is,
from the paint in.
no. So the question is, can you put your fingers inside the cracks? The previous Rebbe, when he went to Israel in 1929, didn't put his fingers. Why? Because there are opinions that start, right? If this is the wall of Jerusalem, if this is the holy wall, right, the Western Wall, where does the holiness start? From here, inside, or from here?
For all.
So what I'm saying is, there's a big debate. And by the way, this is not only because we're 1900 years later and we don't know. Look at the Gemara. The Gemara, which was written in Tiberia, in Israel, 400 years after the temple was destroyed. I was just learning with a guy today. They're arguing whether 7 entrances to the temple, 13 entrances. I was just learning with somebody today. So you can't just go up there and say, oh, I know. Slow down, Chief, all right? A lot of greater people before you didn't know. So I'm not saying they're wrong. All I'm saying is I don't know that they're right. So before you do something, you got to make sure you do it right. When it comes to the temple, you got to make sure you do it right. Okay, let's go. We're going to rip through a couple of sections because we went very long.
Yeah.
The question was before Esther. Esther's the problem here, brother. This never happened. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. God forbid, Esther.
We
God forbid.
never go off on a tangent when you're not here,
Exactly.
except the days that the three of us.
Yeah, we never. A couple of days that we have
Barbara
class.
doesn't go
Right.
off on a tangent.
So the question was.
Because I'm talking too much.
So the question was, why is the Kohen only have to wear the clothing when he serves ceremony and Kohen Gadol always? So the difference in the verses, and you can see this in 6, 7, and 8. If you notice, when it comes to the articles, the extra 4 articles the Kohen Gadol had to wear, it always says before God. You see, verse 6. Let's see here. Verse 6. It says over there, Lifnei Hashem, before God. You should carry the names before God. But when it comes to the in the Chosh, in the breastplate, it says he should carry it on his heart as a remembrance before God. Verse 8, where it talks about the tunic, the blue tunic with his with the bells, he shall be heard. He shall be heard before God. So we see this now. The tzitz, by the way, the tzitz didn't have to say before God, because the tzitz had God's name on it always. What was the purpose of the tzitz? The purpose of the tzitz was to atone for anything that was done wrong by even by the Kohen Gadol himself. It's interesting. If the Kohen Gadol doesn't wear the tzitz, the service is still okay. There's an opinion like that. Because just the presence of the tzitz, the golden headband, was.
I misunderstood. Could you say that again?
So there's an opinion that says if the Kohen Gadol was missing the tzitz, the golden headband, the service was still okay. Because just the presence of it was served.
If he doesn't have it on, then how is it still present?
It could be in his back pocket.
It was taken, it was lost.
In
We
the
we
dressing
know, in fact, there's a Gemara.
So we're saying the existence.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be present in the.
Right. Yeah. No, it's actually, I'm sorry. Meaning, if the Kohen Gadol was walking around in the temple without the tzitz, it's okay. When he did the service, he had to wear it. He had to wear it all late. I misspoke. Sorry. When he did the service, he had to wear it all late. But if he was walking around without it, as opposed to the other 3, because just the presence of it was to atone for mistakes. Okay. So let's get back into the question, or the topic of discussion for tonight, which was about Jews that feel they're outside the community. So there are 3 types. This is going to be a bridge to the Tanya class we're going to do afterwards. There are 3 types of Jews. There's a tzaddik, the rasha, and the Beinoni. The tzaddik righteous, the wicked, the evil, and the Beinoni, the intermediate. The tzaddik. Look at the Gemara. We'll actually, whoever came to the Tanya class, by recognize text number 9, which is a tzaddik. The Yetzer Tov judges has to say, the rasha, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, and the Beinoni is both. Basically, it means there isn't one type of Jew. You know, we all when I say we, I don't mean you specifically, but people in general. And this is not a Jewish thing, this is a humanity thing. But it's in the Jewish community also. We like to think that the only real way to be is our way.
Yeah, my way.
Yeah, my way, right? So anyone who has the same yarmulke as me, or the same tzitzis as me, the same tefillin as me, the same this as me, they're the real Jews. The other guys are like, they're hanging on by a thread. There was a guy, a Yemenite guy I used to joke with. We used to joke, because we used to compare Ashkenazi customs to Yemenite customs, and you can't get more extreme than Yemenite. And he used to say, "You guys even Jewish? Like, where do you guys come up with this stuff, right?" And we used to joke with each other. You're a quarter Jewish, you're only half Jewish. It was like a running joke back and forth. Because sometimes I don't, what's But the truth of the matter is, just like the Gemara says, there isn't only one type of Jew. The Jewish people are just like there wasn't one tribe. There's Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. There's 12 tribes. All 12 tribes are present on the breastplate. Also on the remember I told you the onyx stones in the shoulder straps. On those 2 stones were the 6 and 6. You'll read about it in this week's Parshat. 12 tribes, yeah, right? So basically the message is, I got good news and bad news. The good news is that you're Jewish. The bad news is no matter how screwed up you are, you're still Jewish. No matter how much you want to opt out, sorry. You had any letter of resignation? Denied. You can't un-Jewify yourself. You could be more observant, you could be less observant, you could practice your Judaism, you could express your Judaism more or less, but you can't be un-Jewish. You guys know this famous story with Maimonides and the cat? You guys know the story? No. I actually feel like, I don't think
one way to skin a cat.
I actually think I haven't told the story. So Maimonides, everybody knows Maimonides was a sultan's doctor. Mm-hmm. Now, in these days, the president has a doctor, and no one cares about him. No one knows about him. But in the olden days, the sultan, the king's doctor, the two most important positions was not prime minister. The two most trusted position was doctor and chef.
That makes sense.
That was the most, because you were dealing with the king's health. So when you say a doctor, it wasn't just a physician. You were the king's right-hand man. So in the 1200s, 1100s, some of the more fervent Muslims were not very happy that their Maimonides was such a close confidant with the Sultan, and they always looked for ways to put their Imam down. So one time there was a whole argument: as can you change who you are, the essence of what you are? Maimonides says, no, you are what you are. That's not true. So they decided they're going to prove that Maimonides wrong. They trained the cat to walk on hind legs and to carry a mini tray, to act like a waiter. And obviously it took a long time. These people back then didn't have anything but time, right? There wasn't CNN, there wasn't ESPN. They trained, and they said, oh, you see the cat? And they made a whole thing, and the cat's going to come out, walk on its hind legs, carrying something. And everyone looked at Maimonides and said, you see, you were wrong. What did Maimonides take out of his cloak?
A mouse.
A box. Opened the box. It was a mouse. What did the cat do? He forgot about the expensive Bulgarian crystal, whatever it was. Right?
Chase the mouse.
He chased the mouse. You can't change what you are. You can change what you do. But the essence of what you are is what you are. And you can say, I'm a bad Jew. And maybe you're right, but you're still a Jew. You can be, like you see the Gemara says, text number 9, a Russia, an evil Jew. Okay, you're a bad Jew. You eat treif, you don't keep Shabbos, you don't fast in Yom Kippur, you marry this person. I'm not going to say names. There's a guy called me up months ago and said, can I come to shul? I'm not married to a Jew. So what, you think you're the only sinner in shul? Where you think everyone else is righteous and you'll be the first sinner? Don't worry about it. There's no one, everyone's sinners. Come join the club. You know what I'm saying? He came to shul. This whole idea that it doesn't mean that we excuse the bad things you do. The bad things you do are bad, and you have to rectify them. But we don't kick people out of the community because they're bad, evil Jews. It just doesn't work that way. So the Kohen Gadol, what's his main job? His main job, and you see this, what did he do on Yom Kippur? His job was to find atonement for the Jewish people. Basically, he was a representative before the Congress. The Kohen Gadol was the representative for all the Jewish people, even the bad Jews. So when the guy goes to Congress, and let's say he's a Democrat, he represents the Republicans too. So the Kohen Gadol represented not only the righteous guys, he had to represent
The whole community.
So that's why when he was in the temple, he had to wear all the garments. Because when one of the garments is not there, what are you showing? Oh, those guys, they're not, it's like, the mess you put in the closet. No. It says all Jews are represented by the Kohen Gadol. If a Kohen Gadol is missing one of his garments, it means the Jewish people are underrepresented. And it means you're not doing a job, which means you break your head. I don't need you. What do you mean? Your job is to represent the Jewish people. Look at how the Rebbe puts it. He puts it in much more eloquent words. Right? In text number 10, he says, I know, we're rolling through the slides. He says, when the Kohen Gadol would enter the tabernacle representing all different types of Jews, he would create a remembrance before God. Because you know what God loves? He loves all the Jewish people. Remind me afterwards, I'll tell you a story. It's something I can't say on camera.
I've seen you say a lot of things on camera.
This one I can't say. So he said, remember, God loves all the Jewish people. Does God love that we sin? No, but He's love you any less. It's almost like two kids come home, one gets an A, one gets a C. Do you think the parent loves the kid that gets a C worse? Maybe he's disappointed, whatever it is, but.
Or maybe they're tickled pink because he did so well compared
to
the prior.
No. But obviously talking about what the kid is capable of getting an A, right? And if the family goes on a family vacation, okay, we're going to go to Disney World, not you. You got to see what family picture? No, you don't like what? What kind of garbage is that? Obviously, it's even ludicrous. It's even ludicrous to say such a thing. What do you mean? You're all part of the family. We're all one family.
Okay.
So So if someone's representing the family, and so imagine the kids make a card for Mother's Day, and sign, Sarah Chai Chana, whatever it is. One kid's, mother turns around. Hey, what happened to that kid? Oh no, he was having a bad day. He was crying. What do you mean? The card.
Get him to go ahead and sign.
The card represents everybody. This is what the Rebbe is saying. The remembrance before every Jew. This is why the law states that if he enters the tabernacle missing one garment, he's liable to the death penalty. Why? Because to create this remembrance before God must represent every type of Jew. If the high priest would even enter the tabernacle missing representation, is active representation, entering is problematic. The remembrance and resulting union of the Jewish people of God is absolute. It contains no subdivisions. There is no bad Jews and good Jews. There's there's Jews who do good and Jews who do bad. But that doesn't make you a bad Jew or a good Jew. As we're learning in Tanya, everyone has free choice. Just because you did good today or right now doesn't mean in 5 minutes you have a. Imagine a guy says, commits murder at 10 o'clock p.m. Yeah, but Judge, I was acting very good until 9:59.
And I repent now.
Yeah, exactly. I found the Lord. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So now we come to the Nidis.
Esther has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he has 4 type of garment.
Extra garments. Yeah.
So, but we have only 3 type of kind of Jew. So
No. You made a connection where there is no connection.
Okay.
No. That's it. It's not connected to the different types of Jews. So number one, 2 messages over here, both true. Number one, you're a Jew, you remain a Jew, no matter what, right? The Jews in this country, right, getting attacked because that happens in Israel. I was born in Brooklyn. What do I got to do, right?
And you admit it?
Yeah, I'm saying what does one thing got to do with the other, right?
Queens, but we live-
Did you see the story in Illinois that happened like 2 months ago?
I was born in a hospital.
That some lady drove her car into, she thought was a Jewish institution. It was like a black Hebrew or something, right? Because of what's going on in Israel and Gaza.
She drove her car into the building?
Yeah.
Okay.
But black Hebrew is actually against Israel, actually anti-Semites. Whatever. they call for the eradication of the Jewish people. Whatever. But she thought she was attacking the Jews. Why? Because the Israeli government, that you're a Jew. Over. There's nothing, and being Jew means you're part of the community. There is no such thing as you're not part of the community. And one Jew completes the other Jew. And community means that if you're not here, there is no community. That's the idea.
Which is why it's so important that everybody come at 6:45 a.m. Thursday.
The Farbrengen had thousands of people there. One time, someone was sick and didn't come. So I forgot what the guy wouldn't buy the Rebbe. I forgot for dollars. I forgot what it was. And the Rebbe asked him, "Where's your son? I missed him by Farbrengen." The Rebbe was talking to thousands of people. Most of them are, elderly, or not most of them. People that are elderly, people that are scholarly. What is this 10-year-old kid? Let me tell you, even if you're older and knowledgeable, the Rebbe was talking for hours. Just most people lost track. So the kids came just to be in the presence of the Rebbe, and also they had a Shabbos party. I remember, as a kid, I didn't understand the Yiddish. I remember as a kid, because the benches in 770, the bench, and then you had a little wood thing you put your sitter on. I would sit there, and it was always freezing. Ever since the Rebbe had his heart attack in 1977, the 770 was always freezing cold. We would go to Farbrengen with a sweater in July. 770 was freezing. So I would sit there, put my head on my father's shoulder and sleep. I didn't understand, but at 3 o'clock, I think it was 3 o'clock, that was the Shabbos party. We'd go up. These are my memories as a kid. But you think about it, the Rebbe asked the guy, "Where is your kid?" By Farbrengen. Because the Rebbe, being the leader, understood that there is no community if one person's missing. It doesn't exist. Every Jew is part of it. That's why it says in Pirkei Avot, you see here, text number 11, it says in Pirkei Avot, don't separate from the tzibur. If you look at the word tzibur, look at the screen. Tzibur is tzaddik, bet, vav resh. Tzaddik is for tzaddik. Beinini, tzibur means the congregation. Shliach means an emissary of the congregation. Tzibur means congregation. So if you look at the screen, tzaddik, the letter tzaddik stands for tzaddik, a person who is righteous. Beis stands for Beinani, the intermediate. Virasha and Rasha. That means the congregation is made up of everybody. There isn't the elitist Judaism is wrong, straight out. And it's not like it hasn't happened. It has happened in the past, but it's wrong, 100% wrong. You could have 9 Rabbi Akivas, 9 Lubavitcher Rebbes, no minyan. 10 bums, you got a minyan. Just the way it is. That's why, by the way.
He thinks of us.
Yeah, you don't want to know. So in next week's parsha, we're going to learn about. Remember, I said the recipe of the incense. There was one of the items. There was 11 items. One of the items was chelbana. I think it's translated as frankincense. Is it translated here? Oh, but it's actually not translated here. But chelbana was a very foul, not a pleasant scent. So here, the whole thing is supposed to be pleasant, a pleasant aroma. Why do we have the pleasant? Why do we have the? Why do we have the chelbana, the non-pleasant incense in the incense offering? It's twice a day. It wasn't once a day. It was twice a day. So because you can smell the temple before you got to it. Why? So look what the Gemara says. Very powerful. B'chanani ben Bizna says, any fast that does not include the participation of sinners is not a fast. We learned this from the chelbana, which had a foul odor, and yet it's listed amongst the temple. So in conclusion, that there is no. I say text number 4. That the Nissim of Grona says Gerona says this, that the idea is we all come together, and we say this in the beginning of Yom Kippur. And we say the Kol Nidre was for the sinners, Al Das Hamar Yarnim, on behalf of the sinners and everything else. We invite the sinners to come because there is no. If a person doesn't consider himself part of the community, I don't care what you consider yourself. I don't care. I don't care. You are a Jew. Our job is to convince you of the reality. So if a guy says to you, "I believe the world's flat," okay.
Good for you. Would you like a shot?
Exactly. Okay. I don't. You could. I believe 1 + 1 is 3. Okay. You could believe all you want. The reality is 1 + 1 is 2. You identify as 1 + 1 is 3, or you identify as a non-Jew. I don't care. The reality is you're a Jew, so you're in. And but I don't put on tefillin. Oh, I don't keep Shabbos. Oh, I don't. Okay, well, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. But there's no such thing as we kick a Jew out. You can't. You literally can't. It's not. That's why the Torah. We learned this. That's why the Torah was given in the desert, not in any metropolis. So no one should think, the Torah is only for the hootie tooties. I'm saying Torah belongs to everyone. 1 second. The Torah. That's why the Torah is called an inheritance. Because no matter how bad of a kid, I think Rabbi Lipsker has a story like this. A guy came to Rabbi Lipsker and said, the guy said, my kids are bums, whatever it is, I don't want to give them the money. So Rabbi Lipsker told him, you better give them the money now. They're going to get it later anyway. Either way, they're getting your money. So you might as well give it to them now and have a good relationship with them. The Torah is called an inheritance. So whether you're a bum kid or you're an A+ student, it's yours. So why not, take part in inheritance? There's a nice story. A guy wrote up an article. Last thing, I'll get these questions. A guy wrote an article that he came to. I think it was.
Tiny classes late.
Yeah, he came to North Carolina, and he came to North Carolina, and the rabbi asked, they want to come for a service, and he joined the services, and the community welcomed him. It was very, very nice, and he said, I'll tell you a story. The guy says in the article how the community saved my life, because the guy in the community said, want to go out for lunch? He said, sure, let's go out for lunch. While he was out for lunch with the guy in his community, someone he befriended in shul, the guy called. There was a crazy accident by his office. A guy jumped the curb and drove through the window right to where his cubicle was. He says, imagine if I had friends in the community, I would have been having lunch on my desk, right? So Chabad saves lives, meaning we're all one community. Okay, last question.
Yeah. So when happened that some conversion, people that obligate Jews to convert any other religion, until what generation that family is still Jew?
As long as the mother is Jewish, So let's say a woman was forcibly converted. She's still Jewish. And she has a girl, still Jewish. And she has a girl, still Jewish. They can dunk you in as much water and wine and do a bunch of hocus pocus. You still...
So no matter what is the culture inside the family, if that
No,
person-
if the mother is Jewish, you're Jewish. I don't care about culture. Culture is what you do.
yeah.
If your mother is Jewish, you're Jewish. Over. It doesn't make a difference what you choose because you can't, because it's the essence of what you are. You're born, a person, it's a cat, it's a cat. A tree is a tree. A Jew is a Jew.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah, you can't,
Well,
no, well, not, well,
probably one profession is to follow on or research what is the family tree for many
so
people that want
if you
to
follow,
be-
if you follow mitochondrial DNA, mitochondrial, it goes through the mother. That they're saying is more, just DNA, 23andMe, that doesn't, whatever, that's not good enough. But your mitochondrial DNA is, they're saying is very powerful. And I'm not a halachic authority. Okay, Jay, you want to end it? Thank you very much. Next week, no class. We'll resume in 2 weeks.